Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here today talking about Toonami's ratings from this past Saturday, March 2nd, 2024. Let's start with the top of the block. At the top of the block, we have Ninja Kamui's dub at a 0.10. Then we have Demon Slayer at a 0.08, Lycoris Recoil at a 0.06, One Piece at a 0.06, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.06, and the ratings for Dragon Ball Z Kai and the sub and Ninja Kamui are not available. So this was an interesting week to analyze. If you just look at the rating, 49 rating, as most people do, this comes off like a bit of a better week. It definitely at the top of the block with Ninja Kamui reclaiming that point 0.1 spot. However, what I found interesting was looking at the total viewership. The total viewership for Ninja Kamui actually went down by 3,000 people, yet the rating went up. So it's a weird circumstance here where although less people watched overall, more people of like the targeted demographic did end up watching, which is what does matter a bit more. But again, I found that interesting. Ninja Kamui, though, I think the second episode is still the high watermark at a 0.11, so we're not quite back there yet. And the rest of the block, not doing that well. Technically better, but still not where it needs to be. I mean, you have Demon Slayer, which a few weeks ago was pulling in like a 0.13 or so. 0.13 or so, like 4 or 5 weeks ago before Ninja Kamui came on the block. And now it's down to a 0.08 as we get closer and closer to the end of the main arc here. So that's something that's pretty interesting to note. And a bit of a disappointing return to Toonami for Demon Slayer so far, all things considered, in terms of the ratings. And then we have the not weirdest, that's not the right way to put this. I'll say the biggest disappointment to this point in 2024 on Toonami, in my personal opinion. If you know me, you would think I'll say, oh, it's because I hate Ninja Kamui. I'm disappointed by Ninja Kamui's quality, but it's doing fairly well enough in ratings that if I had to make my list today of what the worst and best things in Toonami 2024 are, I wouldn't put it in my worst. I almost would have to at least consider it to put in my best of because one of my criteria is if it gets a good rating, I'm going to consider putting it in the best thing regardless of my personal opinions on it. But what I'm kind of going around here is I've just been so disappointed in the performance of Lycoris Recoil on Toonami. It got a 0.06, same thing as One Piece and Naruto Shippuden. But here's the thing, in terms of total viewership and in the demographic, it got built on by both One Piece and Naruto Shippuden for a show that got a lot of hype going into its first appearance on Toonami. A show that a lot of people were saying was fresh, it was different from something you see on Toonami. It's not doing that well. And there's many theories one can put about it. I think the one that's the most valid, the most correct, is the fact that it's just that a lot of Toonami viewers really want a very specific type of show. And again, especially in the ratings for Lycos Recoil were doing all right in the first couple weeks. And the first couple weeks had a lot of action in it. But the last 4 or 5 episodes, like I said, and I told you before Lycos Recoil ever aired, you're going to get greater enjoyment watching the show in the way you would watch something like Lucky Star than something like watching it like something like Naruto. You have to enjoy it as a slice of life show to really end up getting the full benefit of it. And if you really want the action, good news, action's coming back. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the action is definitely coming back for the rest of the season of Lycos Recoil. But people really aren't tuning in for it. And I've seen people talk about, well, it's because Naruto had its like canonical finale, like the last episode of Shippuden that was adapted from the manga. Apparently, I'm not too well versed in Naruto's manga or Shippuden, so I can't say that for sure. But I've been told it was a particularly important episode in a way, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But also, you got one built on by One Piece, and for shows that are after it to build on it like that, especially with how much hype Lycos Recoil. Lycos Recoil was the show getting like because Toonami only gives like 2 shows promos. It was getting promos for a while. I think they stopped doing that because now they're focusing in on specifically Ninja Kamui, you know. But Lycos Recoil, if if I had to start making my ratings for the worst Toonami moments of 2024, I would almost have to consider Lycris Recoil at this point. That's how poorly it's been doing. And I'm thinking back, and people are like, oh, it's because there's two female leads. Well, we've had Kill la Kill, and you can argue the top like 4 or 5 most important characters in that are female. It did very well and was well received on Toonami. Game ga Kill, that did very well. Michiko and Hatchin, people forgot that was on Toonami. That people really liked that one as well. And I mean, the show you can, I guess, compare it to in terms of hype and performance is maybe a Pop Team Epic, and that's also led by two female characters. Although, if you know what the twist of Pop Team Epic is, you have to put big, big asterisks on that. But this really is turning into a Pop Team Epic situation. A show which was very anime, very, very loved and well received in general, doesn't do well on Toonami. Even though the general anime fandom really likes it, it doesn't translate to Toonami always, you know? And again, that's just because Toonami, I think, and particularly in its fan base, is really locked into this mentality of it has to be a shonen or very shonen adjacent. It also has to be, or it's like an American cartoon that's definitely inspired by anime. If you're outside of that, people in Toonami really don't have interest. And it doesn't matter how good it is. Because if you're asking me personally, if I'm looking at all the shows that are currently on Toonami and said, what's the best on this? I'm saying Lycoris Recoil. But apparently that's not the case for the general Toonami fandom, and that's alright. But again, it's the type of thing that's going to discourage Toonami, Warner's Brothers Discovery, from actually taking more risks in the future in terms of spreading out. But I mean, and at the same time though, it's a real bummer, honestly, that Lycra's Recoil has kind of turned into a drain for the block in terms of ratings. And I mean, again, if I had to sum up this week again, I would say I guess it started out pretty well for Ninja Kamui. 0.10 is a decent number to get this day and age. But Lycra's Recoil just kind of starts sucking the life out of the ratings of the block. And again, and I would like to know what Dragon Ball Z Kai's numbers are because I only get access to the top 200 of cable for the entire reruns for the entire week. And Dragon Ball Z Kai didn't appear on it, and it went down to like a point one was at the very bottom, which means at the very least it didn't beat Ninja Kamui. If it beat Ninja Kamui, then we would have some massive issues with the block, and Dragon Ball Z Kai would definitely no longer be at only 230. But again, Konami ratings for this past week, good start, and then you just have people just not tuning in for, or a lot of people just simply tuning out by the time Lycos Recoil comes around on the block. I mean, and there's many theories about it, and it's not what you like to see. You know, what do you guys think? Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. Do you love Lycris Recoil as much as I do? Do you personally prefer Ninja Kamui? Because apparently the numbers say more people definitely who watch Toonami prefer Ninja Kamui. Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.